Hello and welcome to another edition of Lab Rats. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And this is a show where we demystify technology, all those gadgets that you're coming across these days, gadgets you're lusting after in the store, gadgets that perhaps you already have, and we try to sort of give you a way to use them better. Well, today on the show, we've been talking a lot, Sean, lately about like tablet computers and mobile computers. Dealt with the iPad,
yes,
extensively, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dealt with the Android and the phones and also the tablets fairly extensively as well. Mm-hmm. And we've been, and this third place spot, I think is really interesting. Mm-hmm. That's where all the exciting kind of battling is going on in terms of the marketplace right now.
Yeah, I think so. We've talked a little bit about the BlackBerry Playbook. We've talked about the potential of Windows jumping into this space a little bit more than they have up until this point, but there's another contender, and they may actually just sail past the other two into third spot.
Now, this is a surprise. This is a surprise. We kind of saw it coming. Mm-hmm. However, I think it's one of those contenders that actually might have a shot at actually winning third spot.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people before all of this sort of shook down thought that BlackBerry was a shoo-in to go into third or even take a higher spot in this whole tussle, but yeah, I think we're looking at another one, and that's the HP TouchPad.
HP TouchPad, right. And so now this was, of course, the former Palm WebOS sort of platform, mm-hmm. right? And HP acquired Palm, I guess, 18 months ago, 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a little bit now, and they've been working behind the scenes to make this all happen. So you might remember Palm, they had the Palm Pilot way back in the day, and then they came out with this smartphone, originally launched by Handspring, and then brought over to the world of Palm. It's called the Trio. And then at some point they said, okay, we're getting rid of the old operating system where you write things in with a little cryptic graffiti, and we're going to come up with a new one called the Pre. And the Pre used something called WebOS, and we've got one of these right here. So then shortly after that, that didn't do really huge gangbusters in the world of smartphones, and then HP bought it and started putting their own branding on there, so it's no longer the Palm Pre, it's now the HP Pre, mm-hmm. which is a little bit harder to say, but nonetheless.
Good stuff. Okay, so today on the show we're going to be taking a really close look at the new touchpad from HP, mm-hmm. with a Palm legacy. We're going to give you an inside scoop on whether or not we think it's going to have any kind of traction in the marketplace with these other two interesting contenders in the third place spot for tablets.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, well, let's take a break. When we come back, the HP TouchPad, does it have a chance in the marketplace? Today on
Lab Rats.
Well, welcome back to Lab Rats. So before we get started, let's just talk briefly about one of our new sponsors, VeriSign.
VeriSign. So
VeriSign, of course, is a company you may have heard of. They're one of these amazing companies that sort of works in behind the scenes on the internet. They're the company that safeguards and runs the .com and .net world. So if you ever have a .com web address or a .net web address, they're handling all the plumbing in behind those. So when you type that in, actually your computer gets to talk to the right computer on the internet. So these guys are, they trade on trust. They're one of the key companies that are responsible for these things, and we trust them, and they actually cause trust in the internet because they basically allow other people. They say about other companies that they're trustworthy or not trustworthy, and they have all kinds of technologies to allow that to happen.
Yeah, you guys see that little green bar at the top? Usually that's VeriSign saying, hey, this is good to go.
This is good to go, exactly. So if you want to find out what it takes to run .com and .net and learn more about VeriSign, zip on over to verisigninc.com to check them out, because these are the guys that make life easy on the internet for us, because causing trust everywhere.
We need to make life easier on the internet as much as we can as well.
We do, so thank you, VeriSign. All right, check them out. All right, so now let's get on with the show. So this is an interesting space, so third spot. Who would have thought that there would be a three-horse race in the third spot in the world of tablets? But mm-hmm. Clearly there is. So number one, of course, is still Apple. Mm-hmm. Perhaps nipping at its heels is the Android world.
Mm-hmm. Although it's a little bit fragmented, as we found out. There's a whole pile of different players in it, and they have a bunch of different tablets with different capabilities, let's say, and different abilities to do certain things. Right.
And the hotly contended third spot, of course, is where we're going to play in today. Mm-hmm. So we have Microsoft doing its thing with their new technologies. It's in a phone, and eventually we'll come to a tablet. I'm sure we haven't seen a tablet yet, have we?
Yeah, there's a few that have been kicking around as prototypes, and I think there may be some starting to launch now, but they're all Windows 7 based, and they're not really tablet OSs, so to speak. They're sort of taking the full experience and trying to jam it onto a tablet. So it's interesting to see where that's going, but Hard to say.
Right. Okay. So there's Microsoft sitting there. There's BlackBerry, of course. You know, the much beleaguered and a little shaky company out of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing about their playbook, which they launched recently, was supposed to actually take them out of those doldrums, and people looked at it and went, eh.
Yeah. I think still an impressive piece of hardware and still an opportunity there, but some key missings. And if you want key missing pieces of technology, you know, in that device that's holding it back from rocketing it into sort of the dominant third place position. So now we have HP. Now HP is the world's largest computer maker.
Yes.
Have had no mobile strategy per se until they acquired the Palm and its WebOS operating system.
Yeah, last we saw them playing in the space, they were like compact with the E-Pack or whatever they were called.
Yeah,
the
iPack.
iPack, yeah, the iPack, and they had these tiny little handheld things that were running a version of Windows CE, which they weren't good. They were not good at all.
They weren't.
And I think some people liked them, and they liked the Windows CE-based phones based on this, but I don't think a lot of people did in the end.
That's right.
Especially when better options presented themselves, rather forcefully, let's say.
Absolutely. All right, so now they've acquired this. They have a new product called the TouchPad. They still branded this the Palm phone. It's an HP phone now?
It's a HP phone.
Wow.
So again, this is the pre, and it's got the HP branding on this. And you'll
So
see.
no more Palm brand. Palm's gone.
Yeah, you go to palm.com, and it takes you to the HP mobile site. And they're still talking Palm in some ways, but I said all of this right here has got a great big HP logo on the back.
Good. Well,
as
good
well
for
as a bunch of fingerprints, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay, I got it. All right, so let's start. So this is the TouchPad. So it's, to me, it looks like an iPad.
It does kind of look like an iPad, doesn't it? So we've got...
At least the first generation.
Let's just bring this out. Here's the first generation iPad that we've got. Very similar, black bezel around the outside. This one has a camera on the top, which the first generation iPad didn't, although the second generation does. Not much to see on the front except for a home button. You've got one on the iPad down here. You've got one on the touchpad over here. And if you think about it, iPad, touchpad, they're very similar in names, right? So I don't think they're trying to stray too far from this whole concept of what the iPad brought to the world. You know, not very many buttons around the outside. They're trying to do it very slick. So on the top, you'll only see like a headphone jack and a power button. This side, you'll see the speakers. The bottom, you'll see the connector for the USB. And on this side, you'll see the volume rocker. That's it.
Yeah.
So not like the other ones where like the world of Windows, they want to like jam a USB connector in there and a bunch of other connectors, a slot on the side for connecting your secure digital media, all of these other little plugs and whistles that, you know, sort of bundle into that. This is just very simple, very much like the iPad.
Very good. Good. So my experience, well, as you were talking about it, I mean, you speak with enthusiasm, and I know you're probably one of the most cynical technology guys I know.
A little.
So I mean, it sounds like you've been impressed so far, at least with the hardware specs.
Yeah, it seems really nice. So it's got a lot going for it. It's got a 9.7-inch full color screen. It's a multi-touch capable, so you can do all the things that you used to do with it. You can do the pinch zoom, you can do moving around and tapping, obviously, to select it. You don't really need a keyboard. You can use a keyboard, but it's got the on-screen keyboard going on with it. It's on the inside, it's got a dual-core Snapdragon processor. This is one of Qualcomm's processors, so not the same ones the other ones are using, something they're doing. But it's very peppy. It's got a graphics component in here that's really top-notch, so you can actually do 3D gaming right on the thing without it really chugging. It's got the things you'd expect. It's got Bluetooth. It's got Wi-Fi for connectivity. At this point, it doesn't have cell capability built into it. So
no 3G, 4G.
No 3G or 4G yet. HP, I think, said that it would be coming down the road, but they haven't made any official announcement yet about pricing or when. So we're expecting maybe the fall sometime for that.
Good, okay. Okay, well, let's get onto the software, because really, I mean, that's what makes the whole thing.
Yeah, this is what it's all about.
So WebOS was the operating system that Palm developed for its smartphone technology, and that's what's been ported here?
Yeah, so when they moved to the pre, they used WebOS because they figured, okay, a lot of people are just doing things using the web as their main point of jumping off. So there are still applications available for it, and we'll talk about that. But a lot of things that people are doing are on the web. So like Facebook, Skype is on the web. They're doing a lot of just browsing, storing things in the cloud. So a lot of what they did with WebOS is sort of built around that whole world, just going on the web and doing your stuff there.
Yeah.
So they've ported it up to this bigger size here. And the thing that you'll notice about WebOS is it uses a card-based operating system. And what that means is basically when you're in the multitasking menu, and there's a multitasking-enabled machine, you basically swipe side to side and see different cards here. All of the apps that you've got running here are on cards, and when you want to launch into one, you basically tap into it. and it'll launch
So
into the folder.
that mini window then is, you would call it a card.
It's called a card,
Yeah, okay,
right.
got it.
So, and the nice thing about this is that when you're ready to switch apps, you just swipe up from the bottom of the bezel. And we saw this on the Playbook, which Playbook kind of stole from the Pre, which was the phone. So then again, you swipe over from side to side. Here we've got Mail. We've got the Mail client open in the background and a specific message. If we want to actually press and hold, we can actually rearrange the order of these, put one in behind. So we can stack things basically into task-based sort of situations here. So I've got an email based around this. I've got a web browser open up that has more information on this. I've got an application launch that is also related to this. So I can stack them all and say, okay, this all has to get dealt with together. Or I can say move this around, so slide this around. But then I can take this message here and just bring it out, and I can actually separate them off and turn it into its own stack here. So if I want to actually break it out and focus on this, there we go. Then we can move over to the other one. And then the nice thing about this is when we're done with it, we don't have to search around for how to close it. So on iOS, you have to go to the bottom, press and hold, press the little bar. On BlackBerry, you have to go into multitasking, look for the little X. And this one, when we're done, we just flip it up to the top. Now it's gone. Closed. So
Gone. Neat.
That's it. So over here in the photos, when we're done with that, we just flip it up. Now that's gone. Photos
So
application.
it's almost like, I mean, the card-based system is almost like moving playing cards around, really, in many ways.
It is. It's an easy way to visualize things and just to get rid of them when you're done. So
Very clever. That's
good. I like that a lot. That's one of the things that I really love about this operating system.
Now, I do want to talk about apps, but I think we'll leave that for a little bit later in the episode because I want to get into, before we move on, this thing called Synergy.
Yes. So one of the things that they've bundled into the operating system, which some of the other haven't done so well, is the ability to interface directly at the operating system level with some of the things that people use. Again, the WebOS legacy here. So you've got things like Facebook, you've got things like Skype, and you can launch these as accounts. So when you go into your bottom here, you can go into the settings and go into accounts up here. And this will allow you to set up accounts for a number of different things. So you can see I've got already a couple of email addresses set up, and I've got Facebook and Skype, but I can add another account here. And you'll see you have all of these other things like AOL Instant Messenger, Dropbox if you want to move files around, your Google, LinkedIn, MobileMe if you're already a user of that on the Apple side of things, and some other services as well here. So the really key thing about this is you can launch this right inside the operating system in the system preferences and then bundle it in to other applications. So if we actually get rid of this and go back to our settings here, and we can go actually swipe over and see the apps that we've got here. And let's just launch the photos and video, which we, again, could have done from the dock at the bottom. But we see here now that we've got the photos here, but it's bringing in our Facebook photos as well. So if we actually want to...
So the photo app actually has credentials to talk to Facebook, to bring stuff in to populate it with.
Right. So when you set up these accounts, it asks you, what do you want to link this into?
Right.
So you can say, OK, I'm loading in Facebook, give it access to photos, give it access to contacts, give it access to all this other stuff, your calendar. So if you have a Facebook notification coming up saying, hey, guess whose birthday it is tomorrow, it might show up in your calendar on this.
Oh, I see.
But it also, if you have like 10,000 friends on Facebook and you tie it into your contacts, well, your contact list now is
10,000 strong.
10,000 strong potentially. So you want to be a little bit careful about that.
So it's just a way for applications to use to tie into other web situations or other applications to share information. Is that right?
Right.
And they call it Synergy.
It's called Synergy, and we've seen a little touch of this with Android before. They tie into the Google applications when you log in with your username there. And with Microsoft's Windows 7 phone, if you put in your Live ID, it ties into all of the Microsoft-based services. This is a little bit more broad. It gives you access built right in from the scratch to all of these other services, and there probably will be more coming as well.
I got it. OK, great. Terrific. Let's talk about the touch-to-share technology, because I know that's one of the key features that certainly that iPad and Android doesn't have at this point.
So one of the key differentiators on the pre-phone, when this first came out, that had on the back of it something called Touchstone technology. And what Touchstone is magnetic induction, so that you can actually just lay it on a dock, and it'll start to charge using magnetic induction. But it also has the ability to ship a little bit of data back and forth between the two as well. So if you're putting on a Touchstone dock, not a lot of data is going back and forth, but they thought, OK, why not sort of put a bit of this into the front of the touchpad and the back of the pre? So it's already in the pre. Now if we want to go in, so we'll swipe up here, go into our browser, and we'll open that up. So we're on butterscotch.com right now. Say I wasn't on Butterscotch. Well, I mean, you might want to share that with that. But say you've got like a map address already up. You've searched for something in a Google Maps or something like that. But then you're going out. You don't necessarily want to take this with you in the car, but your phone's going with you wherever you go. So you just touch this here to the back. You touch the logo, and you see a little wave go up there. It's a little bit sensitive, but you'll notice on the phone there, after a few seconds, it's going to fire up, and it's actually going to load that same web page that we were looking at. So right now, this Touch to Share feature is just shipping URLs from browser to browser, and it can go both ways. But theoretically, there's the possibility down the road to actually share more data. So like you put this on a kiosk, for example, and get a little bit of information from the kiosk.
Grab an app.
Yeah, grab an app or just grab a little bit of information. How can I find out about this? Boop. Okay, it'll launch a web browser. That's not implemented yet, and they're not talking about that. I asked them at a briefing, and they said, we can't talk about that yet. We're not talking about future technologies. But since it can actually do this, you can see the possibilities for this in the future. Right now, you can share URLs from web browser to web browser.
Pretty terrific. That's great. That's really good. I suppose if you were dealing with Gmail, you could actually, and you wanted to take it on your phone, you could just go, and then off you go, right?
Yeah, the neat thing about this, I can't speak to Gmail, that's a potential down the road, but one nice thing that they have implemented in this because of WebOS, both in this phone and in here, is it does give you the ability to actually trade off. So if you take a phone call on your phone, and then you just walk into your house, and you want to change it over to this and use that as your phone base, you can actually swap it over to there and actually turn on video at that point as well using the camera and do a web-based conference. So it does give you a little bit of ability to swap over like that because you've linked the two via Bluetooth technically. So you do need Bluetooth to actually link them up like that. So you can't do a drive-by sort of grabbing of a URL with someone else's phone, potentially.
Good stuff. Okay, great. So what about apps? Let's talk about apps.
Not a lot of them yet.
Not a lot, okay.
No, so we've looked at Android and iOS at this point, and there's like hundreds of thousands. We've looked at places like BlackBerry, tens of thousands.
Yeah.
This is still in the low thousands as well. There's not a lot available for the tablet yet, but the nice thing about it is because it's based on WebOS, and we've got the pre-3, or the pre-legacy, all of the other phones that use the WebOS operating system, there are apps and developers already that are working on apps for this. And the nice thing about it is, while that's continuing to grow just because of that, they've also got something called a PDK, or a Port Development Kit, so that HP will give this to you as a developer if you're already designing like an application for iOS or Android. It allows you to do a lot of this stuff automatically so that instead of spending like a few cycles getting this thing going, you can actually do it in a couple days.
Got it.
So keep an eye out for more apps. They're not a lot yet, but it is early days with this.
So it should be easy to port over with this PDK, or easier than
a lot
from
easier.
Scratch.
Yeah, you don't have to write it from scratch. A lot of the hard work is done behind the scenes.
Cool. Very good. Okay, right. Well, let's take a break. When we come back, final thoughts about, is it worth it? Should you buy one of these HP TouchPads, as well as Clip of the Week, and of course your pictures. Welcome back to Lab Rats. So during the break, Sean pulled out a couple of accessories. So let's just have a look at those real quick. What have you got here?
All right, so we've got a couple things. So first of all, we've got the Touchstone Dock, which we talked about briefly. It's under $100, and it allows you to just lay your touchpad straight on it and charge it without having to worry about plugging it in. Allows you to set up an exhibition mode so that if you have different Touchstone docks in different areas, it'll do different things. So like display your photographs or display a clock. Theoretically, if you're using it in the car, it'll display a GPS sort of app. That's to be determined. You can download different exhibition modes for this to do that. We've got a little case here for it, so we can protect it, obviously, with this rubberized case, microfiber screen inside, and you can actually clip up this thing right here and actually just, like I said, display it down here for typing, or set it up so that it's in a different way. And the nice thing I really like about this is it actually still charges when you put it on the dock.
Oh, good.
Which is nice. You don't have to actually take it out of the case.
Yeah, makes sense.
You've got the keyboard right here, so you can use this via Bluetooth. That can, if you don't really want to do on-screen typing, you can use this instead. Good. And of course, the best accessory of them all is the pre itself. So this is going to be a little bit more expensive than the rest, but it really does open up a lot of goodness that you can start sharing stuff.
Gives 3G capability to the touchpad.
3G, and you can use it as a modem when you're out in the field, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, very good. Good stuff. Okay, great. All right. So bottom line, especially since I don't hear the cynicism that I sometimes do from you, you think this thing has a shot?
Well, The cynic in me says probably not, because it's 2 years past the launch of the original iPad. In some ways, they're playing a lot of catch-up here. And I sort of think that if this was launched a while back, it would have a real good shot, maybe even catching the whole thing, because it's really solid technology. It's a great method of interacting with it. A lot of the WebOS experiences, to my mind, even better than using iOS at this point. And when iOS 5 launches, there'll be a little bit of improvement in there. Excuse me, but I don't know. I don't know that it can catch up to the front runners, but it really does have a good shot to carve out a real niche for itself for people who either don't like the fact that Android can be a little bit flaky, you never know what you're getting into because it's so fragmented, and maybe they just don't like Apple. Maybe they don't like the iPod or the iPad experience and just don't want to go anywhere near that. Or they don't like, say, Steve Jobs' policies on controlling the application marketplace.
Yeah, sure.
So for people that really want something different, this might be a good way to go. And I wouldn't count out HP because they've got huge clout in the industry and they have the ability to make this really roar if they want to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What about price point?
Price point is very similar. It's $499 for the 16 gigabyte model, $599 for the 32 gigabyte. Right. No 64 at this point, although that could be coming down the road again. Sure. So it's, again, comparable. But unlike the Playbook, which is sitting there at those rough price points as well, they haven't crippled it by leaving off the calendar and the other stuff if you don't have your phone. You can actually use your calendar, you can use your all the other features that are in there without having to link it to something else.
A viable option then for business?
It's a viable option for business, potentially, yeah. And again, HP is tapped into enterprise, so I think it would be fairly easy a sell for people and the enterprise IT departments to implement into the system. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Great. Oh, there you go. All right. So stand by, I guess, because I guess we'll check back in maybe 6 months and see how far they get.
We'll see. I'd like to see it succeed because I'm pretty happy with this technology. Again, I'm not sure that I'm willing to give up my iPad for it yet, but who knows? It'd be interesting to see where it takes the whole race.
What happens? Very good. All right, good. All right, so let's now I want you to have a look at a segment we have from Andrew Moore Crispin on Gadget TV. He did the LG Optimus pad in some, I think that's the name of it in Canada. What is it in the US?
It's the G Slate.
The G Slate in the US and around the world. So we're gonna have a quick look at that clip just to see what some of the competition is doing.
Welcome on deck. I'm Matt Harris.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman.
Welcome to the A-List. Hi, welcome to Miss Download.
So what's perhaps most interesting about this device is if we take a quick look on the back, you can see we have stereo cameras here. So you can actually shoot 3D video at 1280 by 720, so 720p video. You can see here a video that we recorded earlier. So you can see playing back in anaglyph. You can also play it in left and right side by side. So you can kind of see, both the channels which were recorded. It's kind of interesting. Like I said, a bit of a gimmick, but kind of neat. But like I say, $700, little on the pricey side.
If you want to see the entire episode of Gadget TV there, you can zip on over to butterscotch.com. We'll put the full URL here so you can see exactly where you need to go to see that episode. But nice job by Andrew Moore Crispin, and I mean, it's great to see all the big players, Samsung, LG, everybody in the slate business. Or
everybody wants to get into this.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, good. All right, and now, of course, my favorite part of the show where we get to see what's going on out there in Lab Rats land. Picture time.
We have a few for you today.
Good. How many do we have?
We have 3 for you.
Wow.
And one of them is from an old friend. Or a young friend.
Young friend.
A young old friend.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll know what I'm talking about in a second.
Okay.
This one is from our pal Vince Bognot, who is in Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah.
And he's said he's been watching us for over 4 years now.
He has, yeah. And he said when he was 12, I think.
He was 12 when he started watching us, 12 or 13, and now he's 17 and getting ready to graduate. And I mean, he started podcasting, I think, because of seeing what we did here.
Yeah.
And he got a whole pile of stuff on the YouTubes. So this is his setup right here. He's got looks like a triple screen setup, and got a little plate with his name up there. So
that's great.
This looks like it was taken with Hipstamatic, or what's the other one you use, Paul? Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah. So
I use Hipstamatic though.
Because he's a hipster.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of those photo treating apps. So
good stuff. Again,
thanks, Vince, for continuing to follow us through the years and for sending in your latest photo.
Wonder whatever happened to that iPod Touch he won, because he won one at the 100th episode. Remember, we gave one away.
I don't know. Oh, that's a good question. Vince, do you still got it? Are you still using it?
Maybe
Or did you sell it for huge, obscene profit?
All right, thanks, Vince. That's great.
All right, so next up. So we got a couple of pet photos. First, these are from Jeff. This is his dog, Fritz.
Yes.
And
this is Fritz. I love Fritz.
Fritz finished off one of his playthings, it looks like. Left one alone. Maybe he just didn't like what that one lamb was saying. So
It's true, yeah. I'm going to get you. That's good.
And Jeff sent us a picture of another dog. And this is Frank.
Pretty.
Frank wants to be fed, I think.
Yeah.
Or wants a nap.
Snakes.
Or wants to be fed and then have a nap. And you notice that...
I want to be fed and had a nap as well.
Yeah, you notice Frank has 2 different colored eyes here.
He does,
as well,
yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I've seen a few dogs like that. And one rock star. So, anyways,
Indeed.
there we go. So
There you
there's
go.
our photos.
Well, thanks, guys, for sending your pictures in this week. You know, we absolutely love to see what's going on in your world, so please keep sending them in. If you'd like to email us, you can certainly send them over to...
Rip up that lamb just before dinner at librats.tv. That was a bit disturbing, wasn't it?
Well, it's kind of. All right, and you can more simple if you want to, you know, if you don't have to worry about just being weird about the email.
Feedback at librats.tv.
Feedback@librats.tv. Good. So send them over your pictures of your animals that dismay, you know, small furry creatures, all kinds of stuff like that. We'd love to see that. All right, thank you so much. So, you know, it would be foolish for us to be here at LabRats showing you touchpads if you weren't out there going, iPad, Android, Web Phone 7, Microsoft Touch something.
I've had moments like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we're delighted to be able to bring you the latest and greatest in tablets here on the show. You know, my name is Andy Walker.
Sean Carruthers.
And we'll see you next time.
Are you ready?
Welcome back to LabRats. That's not going to work. Frog and throat. Okay, let's do it again.
Hello, I'd like you to meet my little blooper.